Hello, interns and spiritual learners. This is Steve. Wanted to do this quick video to prep you for our capstone activity, which is the final project, which will be due this Sunday, August 14th, the end of week number 7. A lot of students aren't aware. I don't know why, but it does not have to be a paper. It can be a presentation. I'm actually kind of biased towards the PowerPoint. I love when a student does a PowerPoint because it's something different for me than having to just read papers. So feel free to do either. Of course, we will accept either. Think about, though, how you might get innovative if you used a PowerPoint versus the paper itself. Of course, you want to address all the writing prompts in the guidelines and expectations that we'll get to in a second. Make sure that you're proofreading your final project for any grammatical or spelling mistakes, and have included not just a title page, but also a reference page at the end. So your title page is basically going to include the course number and title, along with the assignment title, along with the date, and along with your name and the date. Now, looking at the rubric, I recommend, here's a great big tip for you. I recommend, whether you do the paper or the presentation, that you are actually using these critical element titles here as headers in your paper. So you have section headers where you say introduction, where you're giving us a 1 to 2 sentence description of your internship, kind of reintroducing us to it. Number 2, application and theory of concepts, and then you're focusing on the 3 sub-elements that you see here. The reason I suggest this is because in the past, students don't do this, and I use the rubric to grade your paper or presentation, and this is basically the rubric. These are the things I'm looking at and going on to page 2 here, okay? So you want to make sure you're addressing all of these elements, otherwise you're going to lose points. So do yourself a favor and make those headers. The length is to be 4 to 6 pages, not including the title page and a reference page at the end. You don't have to use all these references, but more than likely you should have at least one reference, because part of the critical elements is focusing on the theory to practice. So identifying a theory from your field of study, which you have probably not developed yourself. So we have to make sure that you are citing that accordingly in the body of your paper. And when we say accordingly or appropriately, we mean author, comma, year. So if it's, let's say I wrote the article that you're citing, you'd say Young, comma, 2018 or something like that. And going to a couple other final things, we've already talked about the headers. Do not self-plagiarize. You don't have to give me an entirely new reflections from what you did in the discussions or your journals, but we don't want to have things be word for word. That is self-plagiarizing. So make sure that you are addressing all the critical elements and that you are expanding upon what you discussed in your original reflections and discussions. We, of course, want to be applying critical thinking to this final project. I recommend, too, you look at announcements that we've posted throughout the session. This week, we've got an announcement on ethics. We'll also be talking a little bit about diversity. So how might you integrate those topics into your final project? You don't have to integrate those topics, but it's always welcome when a student actually, I can tell that they've read the announcements and they're including topics or themes that we discussed in the announcements to kind of supplement how they're thinking about their internship. Do focus on quality over quantity. I don't need to get a 15-page paper. It should be 4 to 6 pages, double spaced, and not including the title page and the reference page. So I hope this is helpful to you all. As always, feel free to reach out to me if you have any comments, questions, or concerns. Take care.